It's nighttime already. There hasn't really been a vlog today, and that's fine because I've been waiting for tonight to do this. I got the pictures back, and tonight is going to be a special vlog that I wanted to cover about the Kodak camera. This is going to be the final summary of my Kodak process. During this video, we're going to discuss a few things. The 23 pictures that I took with the Kodak camera and what's actually inside it, and then we'll sum up with the relevance of it and the pros and cons to the Kodak camera. So let's get started. So to kind of give you a quick summary of the pictures when I first looked at the prints, I wanted just the digital copies, but turned out that I was going to get the actual hard copies with them as well. So I got all 23 pictures in hard copies. Kind of nice, I'm kind of glad I have them now. And it came with the process. The camera ended up being around $17 and the whole process ended up being around $14. You're looking at $30 for about 23 pictures. That's actually kind of pricey when you start to think about it. And especially for the quality of picture that you're getting. That in and of itself almost could be a showstopper. Now let's start talking about the pictures. The very first picture I took was in a park. Y'all remember that day. So let's look at the picture first. I wanted to start off with a landscape shot, and I was pretty happy with this picture when I first looked at it. However, if you look closely at it, you will see some grain around the edges, and it's not like normal grain. It's kind of an orangish grain, but it's only around the edges. I found that to be kind of odd. I also played around with this picture and played around with the coloring, some very minor edits. It kind of gave it a 1970s vibe or 80s vibe. Very Super 8mm. The next picture was supposed to be a close-up. However, as you can see, it did not do well in close-ups. I'm going to come back to the reason about this later on. The next picture I shot directly into the sun, using my sunglasses as like an ND filter. I thought this was kind of a cool shot. However, the sunglasses didn't quite line up with the way I wanted it to. Again, this comes back to that close-up shot and some of the problems I have with the actual camera itself. Another close-up shot, as you can see, not coming out quite perfect. However, the background is nice and focused. You can still see some minor grain around the edges though. This is one of my favorites. It's definitely in the top 5 probably. This picture was actually taken in our neighborhood on my way home. The lighting was so bright that day, everything just came out perfectly. However, it still has that film look to it. This is another one of my favorites. The lighting and the coloring in this picture very complemented the film a lot in that you had some of that red mulch right there. The water was very blue because it was shining off the sky, and there wasn't really any clouds in the sky. Having the Canadian goose there was even better. This next picture I actually took inside my office during a darker during the dark time. And I was kind of disappointed with it because there was ample light in the room, but it did not handle it well at all. The next picture was at my fencing club. And then again, the low lighting scenario of my fencing club wasn't that great. I didn't even realize that the fencing club had low lighting compared to this camera. You guys seen in my vlogs the type of lighting that I get. It's pretty bright in there. So I'm a little disappointed with the way this one came out. For this next picture, I talked my students into having a little fun with me. I told them about the project I was doing and asked one of them if they would demonstrate some fencing movements for me. The very first one was very disappointing because my student performed the movement perfectly. However, the lighting was horrible and the picture was therefore horrible. This was another movement that I had. However, I didn't like the stance that he had in this one. I wanted him to get completely airborne. One of the aspects of the Kodak camera I was testing during this spot of the fencing shoot was I wanted to see how well it could capture quick movements. I will have to say, even though the lighting is dark, I was impressed that it was capturing everything so quickly. This was another picture, however, again, way too dark. So I have a model ship in my room and I thought, why don't I try to get a little creative? So as you know, I have a lake in the backyard and the model ship. So I took the model ship out and tried to play some perspective games with the Kodak camera. The very first shot, I was shooting into the sun, didn't quite even think about it, and as you can see, it's overexposed all the way to the right. The second picture is my favorite one of the perspective shot. It came out much better, and although it's not perfect, I'm kind of happy with the way it turned out. Next, I wanted to try to capture the chihuahuas. I got Nora really riled up and she started to run around the yard. And as you can see in the top right corner, the edge of my finger. This comes back to my major problem with the Kodak camera itself, the actual physical part of the camera. I went downtown and this was such a cool piece of artwork at the downtown library, I just had to get a picture of it. Again, I'm not happy with the lighting, but I'm really not happy with the coloring in this. It has a greenish haze to it, and the library itself really is not that green. There's a hint of green in it, however, this is way over the top. This was just another landscape shot, and I think that it performed rather well. You can still see some noise around the edges though. I love train tracks for some reason, and I think that perspective shots from them at a low angle is just really cool. So that's why I got this picture of a train track. There's a lake nearby our club and it was starting to drain a bit, and I thought it would be a pretty cool picture. Again, landscape shots on the Kodak camera aren't that bad, and I'm actually pretty impressed with them. These last two pictures are my favorite. There's a little Italian restaurant right across from my fencing club. So I went across the street and got this wide angle shot of it. I'm really happy with the coloring in this and the way the brick popped. The very last picture is of this apartment building that's under construction. And I have to say that I love the reflection in the water. I love the little bit of grain that I'm getting in it. The sky is so blue and the colors are just really popping for me. Now, again though, my major problem with a lot of these landscape pictures is the grain that's coming on the outskirts of the picture. I just don't dig it that much. I'd rather have all the grain or none of it, in my opinion. So now, on to the fun part, taking the camera apart. So, taking the Kodak camera apart, it's going to be kind of an interesting process. Now, as you can see right here, here's where the film is. So, let's see if I'm going to end up just having to break it open. Oh. All right, we're inside. So, what do we got here? The back part of the frame has basically nothing on it. Here's our wind. Now, the button for the flash. The light still works. Oh, what's that? That's part of the roll. And here's our shutter. As you can see, the viewfinder is literally just a piece of plastic. That's it. Here's our counter on top. There we go. This is basically your camera right here. Oh wow, look, AA battery. I was wondering what they used to power the light on top. You even have a little motherboard here on top as well. Very interesting. Man, oh frick, that shocked me. Dang. So that just shocked me, guys. That hurt. I don't really know why it shocked me. I pulled the battery out. Aha! That's what shocked me. This guy. So, please note when taking the Kodak camera apart, there is two batteries in it. A AA, and I forget what you call these little guys right here, but it will shock you. Now this whole setup right here is basically your flash. We don't really need that anymore, so I'm going to go ahead and kind of discard this. Now the actual camera. So this is actually the actual mechanical machine right here. Something about that sound. Okay, I'm going to break it open here. It's just cheap plastic, it's very breakable. Here's our lens. I'll pop that guy off. Basically all held all together with just springs and levers, and that's about it. Check this out. This is the coolest part right here. So here's the top of the lens. So here's your back part. This is basically the viewfinder that you're looking through. This is your lens right here. Little fisheye guy. Nothing major. And that's basically it. There's not much to it. There's two batteries, and I imagine that's the priciest part of the camera, is this AA battery, which AA's aren't expensive. However, the little cheap battery out here on the back for the flash, this is your most expensive part of the setup. Not to mention the fact that nobody really buys these anymore. So there's that as well. That's what's inside a Kodak camera. Here are your viewfinders, and there's your lens. It's all made out of plastic. There's no glass in this. There's no glass in this single setup. Take that back. There is some glass. A little light bulb. That's your only glass. Everything else is plastic. I know this video has been a bit longer than usual. However, I just really wanted to kind of spend some time on this because I found it to be a very interesting test. My biggest problem with the Kodak camera is the viewfinder. It's very ambiguous as to what you're aiming at. When you're looking at something very close, like these pictures, everything is in focus with the eye. However, once the picture is taken, it's not in focus. Now, to be fair, the instructions on the back of the Kodak camera say that you need to have a distance between 4 feet and 11 feet. But there were still some pictures that I was about 4 feet from and they were slightly blurry. And that was just kind of a letdown for me, in my opinion. One other part about the viewfinder was actually the physical viewfinder. Once you put it to your eye, you can turn it and get different parts of the picture in there. So because you're seeing almost, it feels like 180 degrees of the picture, you don't really know what you're looking at or what kind of picture you're going to get. For me, I kind of grew up with the digital camera. I played with some Kodaks when I was a kid. However, I never looked at them with a photographer's eye. That came later when I started playing more with digital cameras. So having that perspective really kind of messed with me, and it was definitely kind of a learning curve because I had to make sure that everything was on focus and everything that was straight, because I thought if it's tilted just slightly, I could be getting a part over here or a part over there. It was just really confusing. The actual camera itself, I get it. It's a $17 or $16 camera. It's not really made to be very ergonomic. However, they could do a better job of protecting your finger from the lens. I didn't even realize that my finger was in the picture, mainly because I was looking straight through the viewfinder and my finger creeped in, and you can't even see it unless you look to the side to look at your finger. If you're looking straight, it's not there. So those are some major problems that I had with the Kodak camera. So now the final question. Is a $30 process and expense really worth all this time? The fact that you actually get the prints back plus the digital pictures was a major plus for me. I was really impressed with that. It was just so gratifying to look at your very own pictures that were prints. I know it doesn't sound like much, and for some of you guys who may be older and grew up just doing that as a norm, it's just gratifying for me because everything I look at's on the computer. Everything I take is digital. It's not physical, I can't touch it. I could frame one of these pictures if I wanted to and hang it on the wall. That's kind of a neat idea for me. So would I rather use something like this old Minolta SRT? Actually, I would, because it's a much better camera and you get a pretty decent lens with it. And you can kind of pick them up very, very cheap at a garage sale or a thrift store. And on top of that, you have a very nice camera. You can reuse it over and over again. All you have to do is buy the film. So in my opinion, the Kodak camera isn't really quite worth the process of getting film. If you don't want to take the time to go to a thrift store or a garage sale, or even just talking to someone who might have an old like Minolta or Ricoh or whatever, then that's fine. But the actual Kodak process just isn't quite worth it because of the camera itself. The camera has many flaws in my opinion. So that is my review of the Kodak camera in the 21st century. I will say I'm very glad I did the process. I'm hoping to do the Kodak HD version later on. I want to replicate some of the pictures, and now that I know that it's finicky with the lighting because of its set 800 ISO, I'll know how to set up the lighting a bit better. Also, I want to buy some film for some of these older cameras that I have on the shelf behind me, and then compare some of the shots of those to these. There's something nostalgic about film. I think that all of us as photographers and videographers just love. Definitely when I looked at the pictures, I felt like I was in 2002 again. It was really cool to just see that old film look. You just knew immediately by looking at it, it wasn't a digital picture. I don't know why that is. It's a film thing. So looking at the pictures like that was very gratifying. If you'd like to try it one time, or if you're in a pinch and you feel like you need a camera, then yeah, I think I would pick up a Kodak. But overall, I think that doing it for fun just really isn't quite worth the process or the pain. So that is my review of the Kodak camera. I will see you guys tomorrow.